Thank you, Dr. Bree, for this amazing presentation. Just like a quick story I want to tell, I always kind of watched World Economic Forum on television, and I thought, how these women go there? Like, what happens there? I know everybody feels the same way, right? And I called so many people. I said, how you go there? Say, oh, you can't afford. It's very expensive, and it's like, yeah. So I said, okay, fair enough. Like 3 years, I asked so many women, and the women actually who went there, and kind of were part of that circle. Nobody gave me the answers. So one fine day, I decided, okay, I will go there. And to Bree's point, we decided, we went there. It was an idea in my mind, and nothing was on paper. We presented to Dr. Angie Kamath from the NYU SPS. She saw the vision, she liked the idea, she backed us, and we were at World Women Davos agenda, and Dr. Helen Clark, the Prime Minister, joined us, and the Prime Minister of Iceland crashed our party. And I was like, okay. And whenever I was meeting anybody, they were asking me, so how many times have you come here? Like, is it like, have you come here before? I said, no, I landed here for the first time. I'm hosting the party. You are invited to the party. So this is one of those break the role moments. Don't ask, just do it. Okay, with that, like one of my just do it friends, like Traci O'Blunt, is going to lead us to the next session, which is even more important to change our narrative and change our future. Okay, I might have told the session's name wrong, but it's all right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am going to continue what Rupa just said. We are about to have an amazing panel. We are going to change our narrative and rewrite our story. So I just want to start before I bring the panelists up, that as we've heard all day today, it's 2023, and we continue to see women being marginalized. Our roles and our abilities are being underrated, and we are underestimated or simply ignored. No more, because we are here. So today, we're going to focus on the importance of women taking on leadership roles and breaking barriers as we elevate and strive to achieve true equality. And thanks to Dr. Bree, it sounds like we've got 132 more years. However, today we are going to make that change. And I just want to recognize Rupa, our convener, and World Women Foundation, because you guys have created a movement. And your work focuses on unlocking the power of women and girls to unleash the power of equality. So let's bring up this amazing panel with that. And so when they sent us a little vignette of our video, and we were each given a hashtag. So I'm going to bring each of our panelists up, and the first question that I'm going to ask them is about the hashtag that has been assigned to them. So first, I'm going to bring up Cheryl Fox, the hashtag groundbreaker, who is a celebrity photographer and stylist. And she has been in the hip-hop space, and so it's the 50th year of hip-hop. And so Cheryl is going to have a front row book for all of us to see this year. So we're going to name it and claim it. Our next panelist is Rasha Goel, and she is our impact maker. And Rasha is a 2-time Emmy-nominated TV host, producer, international correspondent, and diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant. Give it up for Rasha. Next, we have Dr. Zabina Bhasin, also known as Dr. Z, who is our change maker. Dr. Z is a DEI, so a diversity, equity, and inclusion, and B for belonging expert, as well as a medical doctor, child psychiatrist, and CEO of InKids. So bring it up for our change maker. And last but not least, and do I see Miri? There she is. Okay. So Miri Rodriguez, who is our ceiling smasher, who moderated a panel earlier today, and I was like, oh, I got to bring that kind of energy, huh? We got to bring it in. And Miri is a senior storyteller for state and local government at Microsoft, but she talked about women not being there for her. And so today's panel is going to talk about how we're here for each other, what we do to lead as women, how we're going to make the next generation, for my daughter Mari Blunt, Rupa's daughter Ayati, to be the next voice for women. So I'm going to start, as I said, with the hashtag. So Miri, I'm going to start with you, ceiling smasher. How do you embody that, and what makes that you?
I say yes a lot. And I take every opportunity as one more step toward breaking that ceiling, because a lot of times our own limitations are in our heads. We hear, we take the influence, and we're like, I can't. We see they can't. And so for me, it's like, no, I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to say yes to it all, and I'll figure it out. And I think that's, I actually was talking to another woman in tech who I met in the bathroom, and I was like, she's like, I'm like, you're in tech? She's like, yeah, I'm in tech. I'm like, what's your role? She's like, I just created my role. I'm like, you know what? Me too. There were no storytellers at Microsoft 6 years ago. I was one of the first 3. Today we have 4,000 storytellers at Microsoft worldwide. Yes. And it's a role. You don't go to school to be a storyteller at a tech company, right? So you just do. You say yes, and you just keep breaking that ceiling. Throw a shoe at it,
That works. That's why you are
That's why I'm wearing the shoes.
That's where you got the shoes, the ceiling smasher. Okay, Cheryl, you are the groundbreaker.
Yes, well, hello. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Traci. Thank you, Rupa, for the World Woman Foundation. I don't know where she went. But so I think when it comes to groundbreaking, it's going into the unknown, right? So whatever's beneath the ground, normally you don't know but you're going with purpose, right? So if you're digging a hole, you're doing whatever you're doing. When you're breaking ground, you are uncovering something and you don't know what's there. So I think mine, for me, is I broke ground in photography as a woman and as a Black woman. Photography is traditionally known as a male profession, but of course, women are coming in there all day, every day, and then Black women are coming in, but we're not quite as represented as everyone else. So for me, I broke ground by just being present in my lifestyle, which fortunately I was just taking pictures and moving around. And then, all of a sudden those same people are now the most iconic people in music today. So I kind of created the collection before I got any type of fine art representation, but opposed to taking the traditional representation, commercial work, I was not afforded those opportunities. So I've definitely shot commercial, editorial, out of home, key art, but it's always been through the talent or through a friend or word of mouth. And those are still challenges, but I broke ground in fine art. I'm one of the only Black women fine art photographers that I kind of know, and my work is represented. Thank you. And at the Morrison Hotel Gallery, which took me about 20 years to get in, but I'm in there. And then fine art then took me into the NFT Web3 world, which I feel like is an amazing space for artists. And there are there's a lot of women there. There's a lot of women of all colors because it's all over the world. It allows you to connect. But for me, it's me being seen as a Black woman artist and creative, almost for the first time. I share my work with others, and they'll ask me over and over again, did you take that picture? Did you take that picture? And I'm like, I took that picture. But so what I give people pictures as gift, and they're like, I never saw you with a camera. So I think that the space, it's important to be seen as an artist and to be seen as your, for your work and to be recognized. So I kind of had to break my own way into photography as a woman and as a Black woman, but I'm here.
Awesome. Okay, to my impact maker, Rasha, tell us why you embody that word.
Thank you. Well, I just want to add also that I'm so excited to be here because I've had the opportunity to meet some incredible women here today. So thank you. When I think of the word impact, it reminds me of how I affect other people, or just in general. How are we showing up and making a difference in people's lives? So for me, impact maker is how can I be of service to someone through my work, through who I am, and just even as a person walking the streets with my family and friends. And one of the things that I felt that I've been able to make an impact as is in the entertainment industry, because there till this day, I still feel like I'm fighting to have a space for South Asian, for Indian women to be in front of the camera as entertainment journalists. I am still pretty much one of the only ones, and this was something that I was told not to do, not to entertain. It wasn't something my family was very excited about me going into. I was supposed to become a pharmacist. I was telling Dr. Andrews earlier. But you know, I kept to my true calling, and it's just something that was in my soul, and I knew I was here to be a storyteller. And as I've grown through that journey, now that storytelling has been more about, well, how do I take other people's story and inspire people who are watching my stories? How do we show up and help other people feel empowered, inspired, and live a better life while we're here? We're not guaranteed the years that we're here, so the few years that we are, let's be happy and let's help one another. So that's impact maker to me.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And with the last 2 years of the pandemic, I think your words are very poignant. If you don't know what your purpose is and you are not helping others, then you've sort of missed what these last 2 years was about. So, Dr. Z, you are our change maker. So please tell us how you have embodied being a change maker.
I want to first ditto what Cheryl and Rashmi have said, is that I am so excited to be here. I'm so appreciated and honored and humbled to be invited to speak here today. And Rupa, congratulations on what an amazing foundation that you have created and are uplifting for the women and for the next generation. For me, a change maker. First of all, I think everybody embodies a change maker. It's just like you said. If in the last 2 years you haven't embodied what your purpose is, then you missed the mark, you know, and we all are change makers in different ways. But for me, my career as a physician, as a hospital administrator, as someone who in the hospital system here in Southern California created a mark for DEIB, putting places where our patients and our physicians came first before our administrators and before the payers, to have a place where patients could feel like they were at home, where they belong somewhere. And then stepping into roles that I went from as a psychiatrist to administrator, and now, you know, a ed tech toy company creating culture and tradition toys. That's the change that I've made, is in my career and in my life, but empowering other individuals to see that you can make changes in your own life at any point of your life. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. But now with that title, or that hashtag we say, I want to empower the youth to say you could be a change maker. I want to show the youth that at any point in your life that you decide to take a path, that's your change making path. And with that time and frame, you can do it at any point in your life. And that's what a change maker does.
That's awesome. And I would be remiss if I didn't say I was the rule breaker. So I am Traci Otey Blunt, and I would never do this in the past, but I will do it now. I'm a nationally recognized, award-winning communications strategist, political operative, public affairs specialist, and I've spanned my career in politics, sports, and entertainment. And I most recently was the head of corporate communication at the National Football League. Did that for a little over 3 years. And when we talk about the pandemic and putting things in perspective, I and my husband, we have a 10-year-old now, and the pandemic was really a decision. Do you keep your dream job, or do you keep your dream, which was having a child and raising her right? And so I am now the boss of me. So I broke the rule by leaving one of the most epic places that you could possibly work to be the boss of me. And so that's how I broke the rule. All right, so let's jump in. So this question can be for anyone, and feel free to just jump in at any time. How can we challenge outdated narratives or stereotypes that limit women's potentials and promote a more inclusive and equitable society? Because we've talked about this all day, right? We have talked about being at the table, being, you know, a person that has worked their way up to the top. Our resume says X, but did someone say that they were the only woman in the room and they were like, oh, we can get coffee now? No, we're not doing that, right? Okay, well, right on the panel, so we're going to start with you.
Well, there you go. You know, it's systemic, and it's embedded for many years. So it's going to take many years. And I always tell my girls, or my women in tech, we're the Rosa Parks of the digital age. And so it's going to take grace and stance, and being on that bus and sitting in front of that bus is not easy. But if we leave because it's not easy, then we contribute to the system. So representation is important. We show up, it's hard, it's not easy, but we're paving the way for the next generation and the daughters after that. And so we understand that it's not easy, but we don't move away from the hard and the challenges so that the system can start to break down from the inside out. We have to be in it so we can break it and break out of it.
I like that.
And I would like to add to that, and I think we have to get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations, because we're at this place now. Yes, we know that the conversations need to happen. We know we need to get into the rooms, and sometimes we do get into the rooms, but then how do we pivot that conversation? There are uncomfortable moments. We are learning about different cultures, about different ethnic backgrounds, about how social norms are in different communities. But sometimes we get scared to actually push that button a little bit because we're scared that, oh, well, maybe my boss may not be accepting of me bringing this out. Oh, that's going to lead to me getting fired now at this opportunity. But imagine if we were able to push that envelope a little bit, and that I think is going to come from a personal as well as a collaborative effort to step in there and say, okay, I know this may be uncomfortable, but I would like to address this because this is happening. And I feel like that's going to be one way to move past those conversations.
Absolutely. Dr. Z?
I think, and I'm going to go a little bit to a younger age bracket here, is we've got to also start in our homes. We've got to show our daughters and our sons what it means to be equitable and what it means to be part. Because if we don't start teaching the next generation that, when they come to our age, the pattern is still going to be there. We're not changing anything. And then we have to bring it into education. We have to show our teachers and our administrators and our college educators what it means to have parity actually in the classroom as well, because that goes back to the workforce. Then we're going to show them this is how we are in the workforce. Our internships, all of those internships, all our young women are looking to have, we need to put them in the upfront. And we also have to say one thing. Don't always look at that educational background. Look at that passion these women have. What are they out there to drive themselves to do? Because sometimes passion plays over that education. Because you'll see that woman or even that young man want to work harder to get to where they want to go. So let's start in our homes.
I like that. Cheryl?
And if I can just say that also, I do believe, and I'm sure, Miri, you know this because you're tech, that now in the digital space, it's a whole new game when it comes to women as well, because especially with Web3 and the metaverse, it's not so much about your gender. You can create avatars and live a whole nother world as a whole nother person with everyone all around the world at the same time. So I think that educating ourselves, no matter what age we are, as far as technology is concerned and where Web3 in the world is moving, is important to breaking all those systems as well.
That's true,
Yeah, that's awesome. And I will add to what Rasha just said with regard to being at the room and using your voice. A lot of times, we may be the only one at the table. And there are people in your organizations or people that know you that are looking for your leadership and your role to take that step. And so sometimes it's got to be worth losing your job because your values, your convictions, if what you're doing is trying to help promote and make things better and equitable for people, but someone's not comfortable with it, maybe you don't need to be there, and then you create your own table and you bring that seat up and you bring others along that have the same belief in you. So I think everything that we've just talked about right here is all part of that formula. And so Cheryl, you just said, talking about tech and just the meta space, if you will, it leads me into this question is how could we create more opportunities for women and girls, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds, to take on leadership roles and a positive impact. So when you just talked about being in a space where you can bring people together globally, is that a way to do that? And is from what you do with your creativity, is that something that you see?
For certain, it's a way to do that, but the trick there is that you have to want to do it. So it's knowledge that's there, and you're supposed to learn something new every day, and for the rest of our lives, because we'll still never know enough. But I do believe that that is information that you have to seek. So you have to go out and you have to get that information, and it's out there for you, and then you can use it in any form, in any way you can, and that's for anyone of any age. There are no limitations on that, which I think are beautiful, especially as a creative.
Anyone else on the panel?
I think also is empowering our young girls. I know that's such a word that we always say we use a lot, like empowerment. But I think understanding the meaning of that too. We go back to always telling our young women that there's a role that they have to play, right? And I think stepping out of that and saying, no, that's not the role. There's, I came from a culture that was 3 jobs: doctor, lawyer, engineer. And I took the role that I was supposed to do, but I remember very clearly when my mom said, wait, so you're not gonna be a doctor anymore? And you're gonna go open a toy company? What are you doing? And I think that point, my daughter looked at me, and I know I was working hard and I was doing so much, and I was just constantly going, and it was kind of that decision during the pandemic, which direction do I go in? And when my daughter said to me, no, my mom's changing the world. That was it. That was my empowerment moment to tell her, you can do whatever you want. So it's taking these young girls in these underdeveloped and underdeserved areas and saying, what is your passion and what is your empowerment? And let's just move with it. Let me help you. Let me open that door for you in any way that I can to do it.
I love that. Can I add on to this real quick?
Absolutely.
So what is empowerment for women, for people, for all of us, for men and women? It's important for us to take a look at our body, our spirit, and soul, and the health of that. Because I found out in my own history, in my own story, 2/3 of me was dead. I was a zombie. I was doing the thing in autopilot for a long time, just like checking the boxes. You're doing what you're doing, and you go to school and you get married, you have kids, and you go to school and you go tech and arrive at Microsoft. You're done. I mean, check the box. You're done. You could die, right? It's like I could die happy. No, that's not it. That's not it. And so I think taking an assessment, a real deep assessment of what we're doing and why we're doing it. The why is so important. And so instead of just because my family needs it or because this is where I'm supposed to be, my parents, my society, divorcing core values that we think are ours, assessing them and going, does this still serve me? Is this still mine? Is this my core value? Or is it my religion, my parents? They meant well, but is it mine? And that's empowerment. It's self-empowerment to understand when somebody asks you, why are you doing this? Why did you go and make a toy company? You have that why, and you're empowering yourself and other people for that.
I was just going to add, because you were saying how to create the change or be a part of that. I think also for women, especially who are in leadership roles, is to be open to mentorship. I think sometimes there is not an access for people. I didn't have a mentor, and that would be my advice to someone. And I wish there had been. And so I think for people who are able to do it, to be a mentor, because that would really help pave the ground for the younger generation. Creating more mentorship opportunities.
Got it. Okay, so I'm going to do a last question, rapid fire. This is going to be an easy one.
Uh-oh.
If you could leave the audience with one action item or a key point from anything that you've heard today or something that you would like to impart, please tell us that now. So I will start right to my left, Dr. Z. We'll start with the change maker.
I was going to go
Give
that way,
everybody
so
else
I can
time
have a
to
minute
think.
to think. I think I'm going to go with what my mission and value and where my core is empowering the youth's voices, because they are our next generation, and they are going to be the roles we are in right now. So let's create a future with them rather than for them. Let's empower them. Let's give them those seats at the table. Let's tell them where they're at. Let's mentor them. Let's give them those internships in what their passions are. And then let's create, again, a future with them, not for them anymore.
I'm going to say the word trust. So for everyone who's listening, to trust yourself. I think sometimes we get put into situations where we doubt ourselves or we all have insecurities. But when you look at your core and you connect that mind, body, spirit, you will always be guided by your soul, that passion. So trust yourself, trust what your desire is, and then trust what you want to create.
Sounds good. Okay, Cheryl?
Well, mine is a lot like Rasha's. Mine is to believe in yourself more than anybody else does. Like, no matter how much they say they believe in you, you really have to believe in yourself more than anybody else, because where nobody becomes iconic by themselves, you also have to, you're the only one that can do it. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of have to know what your purpose is, at least enough to be passionate to drive it forward, no matter what any of the noise around you says, and it all comes from within. That's all I'm really saying.
Okay, Miri?
Okay, I'll close us out. As a storyteller, I have to say, own your story and share your story. I used to be embarrassed to tell people part of my story. I came from the slums of Caracas, Venezuela. My success was what would I eat the next day? And I was ashamed to share that, to talk about my background. I own that today. It's no longer embarrassing to me. I'm like, it makes me proud to say, wow, I can represent a culture. I can go back and say, Mom, I made it, right? And I'm here and I can speak for a representation. Owning your story is the most powerful thing you'll ever do. Do not be ashamed of it. It makes you unique. It makes you you. It makes other people connected to you. Yeah, you can clap for that. Your stories, yeah. And share it. I really believe as a storyteller that if we do not share our stories, we rob people of the platforms that they are connected to us. It's the human connectedness the stories brings. So own it and share it.
So what I love about that is owning your story. I think people should be bold, they should be authentic, and they should always remember who they are. And so one thing that I'm proud of to say, based on what you've talked about, I grew up in Nashville, and the area code that I grew up in was 37208. It wasn't until Soledad O'Brien did a series on CNN that said 37208 had the highest rate of incarcerated parents of kids. I didn't know that. I just thought so-and-so lived with her grandma because you just live in generations. So I'm so proud of where I came from because I represent, I show kids what they can be, and I do everything I can to mentor and bring young girls along. So let's give it up for this panel. Cheryl Fox, our groundbreaker, Miri Rodriguez, our ceiling smasher, Rasha Goel, our impact maker, Dr. Z, the change maker, and yours truly, Traci Otey Blunt, the rule breaker.